I'm Agent Scott,
And I'm Cam the Provocateur.
and we're from the Spy Hards podcast.
That's right, and you are listening to Pods Like Us, the podcast that also has the Midas touch.
Hello and welcome to Pods Like Us. I'm Martin Quibell, known to my friends as Marv, and this time I am talking with retired attorney and presenter of Snapshots and Dinner and a ... Mr. Blaine Desantis. Hello, Blaine. Thank you for being here.
Marv, thanks so much for inviting me on. I appreciate it. I listen to your podcast. I enjoy it, and I'm happy I can be a part of it.
Thank you very much. And to away the curtain a bit, thank you to Natty as well for setting this up, your son.
Well, that's what we have him for. He does all these behind the scene things you don't see, other than you do see Binge Bros. But after that, it's all behind the scenes stuff, and he's great at it.
We will get into that later.
Okay.
So, how were you first introduced to podcast then, Blaine?
I'll tell you, I have no earthly idea. I was so afraid of podcasts for years because my kids kept saying, "Oh, get a podcast," and then I'd look at it and it says subscribe, and it's like, am I gonna have to pay something? I don't want to pay anything, so I would never push a button, never subscribe, and finally they got me to subscribe to something, and it was something that they were listening to. Okay, and that's nice, and then. One thing led to another, and then I got a couple more podcasts I start listening to, and then I become hooked on the format and everything, and what you can learn and enjoy on podcasts that you can't get on TV or radio.
So I'm guessing when you first got into podcasting, you were still working as an attorney, and
Oh
no,
no, Marv. I retired back in 2002. I was fortunate enough to be able to turn 50 and say, that's it. No more for me. And I just got burnt out being a lawyer. And so I didn't do much of anything in terms of podcasting. I did take the kids all around the world. That was one of our goals, to make them worldly and make them good citizens. And we did that for a long time. And we were able to get many places and see a lot of things. And then I started my podcast last May, and it sort of coincided with me with everything shutting down here, because I used to teach at it's called Ollie, and it's a lifetime learning institute here at the local college, and I used to teach there. And well, Ollie's no longer teaching in person, and I'm not a Zoom guy, so I wasn't going to do anything. So we started talking, and the next thing you know, I said, well, let's try something. And last May, we popped out the first episode.
So that was the show Snapshots then?
Yes, Snapshots popped out with I think the first episode has something to do with the Beatles' last song that was that they had put out, last number one or something like that, along with a trip to the Grand Canyon and things like that. Mm-hmm.
So see if you can remember, what was the last song that the Beatles did put out then?
Jeez, I cannot remember. It's not the one everybody thinks it was. That's the thing. It wasn't the song that everyone did remember. I can't think off the top of my head right now. Isn't it something that pops into your head and then pops out? Give me a few minutes, Marv. It'll pop in there one of these days. Okay.
Okay. So describe to everybody what Snapshots is all about.
Well, the snapshots, the inspiration behind this really is, as a kid, we would always go to my uncle Ezio's house, and he would take Polaroid pictures. And you look at those little, the self-developing pictures you have. And it was just like a little snapshot of what's going on in the world at that very particular moment. You saw 8 people sitting around a table or 3 people playing something or doing something. And that was the inspiration behind this. What's going on at this one particular moment in time, and or this week or this day or something. And so that's why I got into doing the snapshots, little things, little bits of nostalgia and history, as I say, from yesterday, today, and maybe even into tomorrow.
That's great. And then, so that's been going since last May, and then
Yes.
you started another show called Dinner and a dot dot dot, and apparently that's it's sort of an extra to Snapshots, or a almost like a spin-off of Snapshots.
It is. Yes, it's a recommendation. One of the things, I don't know how it is over with you in England, but here in America, no one's getting together, no one's coming to the house, and when you sit there and talk to people about, well, now what are we doing? What do you used to get together to exchange opinions? Have you seen a book? Read a book, I should say. Seen a movie? We're not doing that. So I got this idea to make it like a recommendation show. Okay, instead of you coming to my house, I'll podcast out to you something I might be watching or reading or listening to. Short, no more than 10 minutes. A little bit of history with it about what I'm doing, and then bingo, bango, bongo, it's over and done, and you got some recommendations.
Well, I think that's a good thing about both of your shows is that they are, I would say, bite-sized shows. The shows that you can get through really quickly, but they're incredibly informative and give you everything that you need to know.
That's the whole idea. There are some podcasts that are good at the hour or hour and a half length. Me, I couldn't talk that long. I can do around 30 some minutes, because basically this is coming off my top of my head. Some people have scripts. I can't work with a script. It's just going to be, what can I think of and talk about? I do research, obviously, but what do I say? So 30 minutes is around my max, Marv.
Yeah, but I will say, just like Natty said when we were talking, you are incredibly natural at doing it, at doing these things.
Well, thank you.
That's okay.
My dad, who was also an attorney, said to me one time, we have 2 things we do for sale. We have our brains and our mouth. So I've been using both for a few years.
So in a way, then I'm thinking you had to be very good with your words and how you were putting things across as an attorney. So that's almost natural that you would be that way anyway.
It helps. It helped. It really did. I'm comfortable. I don't have a problem sitting behind a microphone. I don't have a problem talking and doing this. I had no trouble. As I said, I used to teach here at the Lifetime Learning Institutes. I would teach. I taught 3 or 4 courses on music. I taught 3 courses, I think, on baseball. Matter of fact, I've even lectured up at the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. So yeah, it was sort of natural for me to talk a lot.
And of course, sometimes in the situation as an attorney, you would have to think on your feet very quickly and say what you need to say without thinking too much about it. So you'd be naturally quick thinking and come up with what you need to say, like I said, immediately.
Right. One of the stories I think that I remember the most about myself was I would do appellate work. Now, you take the case to your trial, and if you don't like the decision, you go to the Court of Appeals in Pennsylvania, where I was from originally.
Yeah. And
that was held in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And so that was around an hour away. So the entire time I'm going down there to give my oral argument before the judges, I'm thinking what I'm going to say, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom. And then you get there and, 30 seconds into it, they don't want to hear what you have planned. They want to ask you a question. Oops, you got to be ready for anything. So, yeah.
So where did your interest in fact and dates and all of these things come from?
I don't want to say I was a sickly child, but I suffered from asthma badly, and this is back in the early 50s. Okay,
Okay.
so it was not good. I was getting all those steroidal injections and everything else, and I couldn't be outside. I still can't really go outside a lot, cut grass, and the allergies and everything else. I can't breathe. I can't breathe when it's too cold outside or if it's windy. So I got used to being inside. And we had a set of World Book encyclopedias. And I would sit there maybe once a week, sit down with a volume and just start reading the encyclopedia. Such a nerd, such a nerd. But you know what? That's all I could do. So, that was okay. I enjoyed it.
That's great. I'm guessing then that you must have lots of books that have got facts, and so because I mean I know I love the Guinness Book of Records and
Hmm.
other books as well. So I've got, I think, a book that's all about lists. So there's a list there that includes like people's favorite songs or most popular songs by such and such, or and then I've got a book full of dates and things that happened on those dates in
Hmm.
history. So I'm
Hmm.
guessing you're the same with that as well.
I have some. I have some. Yes. Yeah. That, I think that's just fun to look at those things and see what's what, and get some ideas and some thoughts for that. But yeah, I like facts. I've always liked little bits of information. And I'll tell you a story, if you don't mind,
That's okay.
about a friend of mine from college who we were talking, and one day, and he said, there are two types of people. And I said, okay. You never know what you're going to get when you hear that. He goes, there's some people who sit there and know everything about one topic, and they could write a book about that topic. And you listen to them and you'll fall asleep. He said, then there are the rest of us who know a little bit about a lot. He says, we're the interesting ones. I said to myself, I think Howard's got something there. And it's sort of, since that time, I've been getting a lot of little interesting tidbits I can talk about. So that's enjoyable.
Yeah, I bring up the books as well because of the fact that you are a huge book read. You love books, you love reading,
Yes.
and you love looking into books. As your blog,
Hmm.
what's it?
Yes.
Was it
Blaine's
Eclectic
eclectic
Bookshelf?
bookshelf. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
You never know what you're going to get.
absolutely. It's a fascinating blog. It really is. It's a good read,
Thank you.
and so you have all sorts of books in your collection. So, I mean, have you actually got a favourite genre of book to read, or is it just anything?
I will read almost anything. I do not read romance. Okay. Don't
Okay.
do romance too well. Okay. But, and I'm not a big fantasy reader, but in terms of anything else, I love, my favorite authors are John Steinbeck and James Michener, who does historical fiction, did it, I should say. Ken Follett, love his works. Okay. That combination of history and yet a mystery. I like that in a book, a historical fiction books. Very, very good stuff. I read mystery books. I read history books, nonfiction books, you name it. The bookshelf is loaded with books, all different types. And what I like is reading books that are set in other countries. I don't know about you, but I enjoy being transported to a different country for a book, learning a little bit about their customs, learning a bit about their culture. It's just completely different.
Wow, that almost sounds like you're going on holiday while you're reading a book.
You do, you do. I just got done with yesterday. I just finished up a book by C.J. Sansom, who writes a series of books set back in Tudor time of Henry VIII, and it's a set of mysteries on that. And I just finished the second volume of that book, so that's a very good series. Also, I think Sansom's an English writer.
It's the same as when I've read Of Mice and Men and is it The Pearl by
Mm-hmm.
John
Yes,
Steinbeck?
yes, uh-huh.
Both of those, and when I read both of those books, it was like it transported me to those because the way he describes the area and the people, it tells you everything that you need to
Yes,
know, and you can actually picture the scene where they are and everything. And the same with who are the writers like well, Huckleberry Finn. When you read
yeah.
Huckleberry Finn, you can
Mm-hmm.
actually see you, that image and the steamboats and everything
Hmm.
there, So, yeah, I love that sort of book as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah, no doubt. And yeah, it's a lot of fun to be transported through book, and good writers can do that. So that's why they're in my library. I must have 6,000 or more books everywhere between my Kindle, between the library, between the bookshelves in the bedroom, the bookshelves over in Nathaniel's side of the house. I got so many books. Ay, ay, ay.
So, have you passed on your love of books to Nathaniel and your other children as well?
I think so. My daughter's a librarian, and she just started back. Today's her first day as a corporate librarian. She was working at a college here in South Carolina, and her boyfriend did move to Indianapolis, and she moved also. And so today is her first day as a corporate librarian at the Eli Lilly Pharmaceutical Company. So we don't know what she's going to be doing as a corporate librarian, but they have 9 of them. So there must be something they do there. So she's got a love. Nathaniel reads also, absolutely.
Yeah.
Inquisitive, likes to see this stuff. So yeah, everybody reads.
Yeah. Well, when Nathaniel's got time between his editing of all of these different podcast shows.
Well, we let him do that now and then. We let him read, but you're right. He is busy constantly, Marv. I mean, you know what it takes to put one of these together, and when you're doing your own show, as he does with his friend Joey, and they do 2 of them a week, and then you start doing all the other ones. It's a lot of work. A lot of work.
So, how is that done then? How do you do the shows? Does it happen much like this, where Nathaniel sets you up and then just leaves you to do your thing, and then you give him the file to make the show from?
Yeah, I have it. I record here on my iPad. I'm sitting here in my living room. I have a desk here in my living room, looking out over the area here. Okay, I can see up into the mountains and everything else here. And every Sunday, I sit down, plug in my mic into my iPad, and start putting together the show. And 35 minutes later, I'm done. I then send it to him, and he takes care of equalizing the volumes. And then, we just started to add what I think is the harder process of making my show into a YouTube presentation, which I think is
Wow.
very difficult. But he likes doing it, and he's got to find the photographs. I didn't mind finding them. He said, "I don't mind doing it. I learned more that way." So he's actually when he's listening to my podcasts, he's now got his computer open and he's looking at another computer and he's doing stuff to find out the pictures and putting everything together. Pretty interesting. Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
Crikey. How can you find the time to do that for all of those shows that are done?
I don't know. I always get him my show on a Sunday, late Sunday afternoon, early evening. Then Monday morning, our daughter Sarah has her little 5-minute No Fear Finance show, which she's now been able to edit herself. So she does that. Then he starts working on a Binge Bros and our son Matthew's From the Swamp to the Swamp political show, which is always around an hour in length. And then he starts working on mine the next day. And then we're taping YouTube shows with my wife and putting all that together. It is a busy schedule, Marv. Very busy.
It really is. It is.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Mm-hmm.
got himself a good job there.
Well, one of the things I think, and I don't know if we call us successful yet, but we're endeavoring. One of the things that I think we're fortunate enough is we have a family of talkers, and we like learning, and we also we formed Amalfi, and so we have this umbrella, which is we can promote our own shows on the other shows, or say, as I say, text me, tweet me, YouTube me, or go to amalfimedia.com. You go to amalfimedia.com and then push a button. You can see any one of our shows are there, and that really helps. That really does help.
It does help.
Mm-hmm.
So, I suppose I'll come out in all honesty here and say
Yeah.
that a lot of things that you discuss are interesting to me, because I'm of the age also that when I was younger, it was all about family time. So you'd be watching the television together, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of memories of special times in the year, like Christmas and and Easter, we'll always have memories of family time in front of
Yes.
the television or watching films that are
Hmm.
family films, and you'll listen to music together and books and playing games together, and all of
Yes.
these things are things that are important and you mention in your shows.
Yes. I try to, because family is important to me. I was very fortunate. I mean, my dad worked so much as an attorney. My mom was very, very ill. And when I was born already, my mom had cancer and had lost her one breast through a radical mastectomy. And so she was always extremely well. Now, so I'm sort of sickly. My mom's suffering from cancer. And so we're at home together, and time together was very, very important. As a matter of fact, I remember asking my dad, I said, Dad, can I get a job? He says, no, just stay home with your mom. We don't know how long you're going to have her. Okay. That was fine. And I did. And I had good times with her. And my grandmother came over to help out because my mom couldn't cook too much or do too much and around the house. So my grandmother was there to help. And that was really good. Loved it.
So you still play board games now with the family, do you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The price went up in board games. So nothing's
Didn't
cheap
it?
anymore. But yeah, we do. We just played. We got a couple new games at Christmas. We got something called, what's it called? Oh God, the very first one I talked about started with a C. We'll get that. But anyway, chronology. We got
That's it,
chronology.
chronology. Yeah.
That's a fun game. We played a Zool, which is a really fun game the other day, and that was a lot of fun. I played some other board games. Around 2 years ago, we got hooked on a game called Pandemic, if you can believe it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a wonderful board game, and it's so different from everything else. Where usually it's you and I would be playing Marv, and you're trying to win, and I'm trying to win. In Pandemic, you have to act as a team to try to beat the spread of the pandemic disease. So that's a different mindset when you're playing a game where you're not trying to win individually. You're trying to win as an entire team. And it wasn't Nathaniel's favorite game for a long time. he, he liked beating me at board games, and this time we have to work together. So we do. It's very good. I really like that game, Pandemic.
So do you have any favourite board games or any games?
Well, that was another one we've done is this. I just talked about it coming up. It was called Trails to Rails, the Catan series, where you try to discover, make cities and deliver goods and cargo. It takes like 2.5 hours to play, and but it's a fun game, and we really like it. That's one of my favorites if I can do that. Yeah, I really like that. None of the old traditional games. I never liked Monopoly too much. Actually, I grew up a lot of playing cards. My mom and my grandmother and I used to play pinochle. You play
Okay.
pinochle?
Yes, I've played Pinochle.
Okay. Yeah. Kids don't know you. Every day people say, "Oh, let's play bridge, play bridge." I said, "How about pinochle?" And they look at you like, "What is that?" And then my grandmother, my mom and grandmother, they're Pennsylvania Dutch, and so they would teach me a game I cannot remember anymore called Hassenpfeffer, which I
Okay.
have no idea what that was, but we used to play that, and so we played a lot of card games, and that was fun. I don't see people doing that anymore, Marv, do they?
I don't know. We've still played some card games, haven't we,
Okay.
occasionally? Yeah.
Yeah. We used to get together with friends at holidays, our holidays here, Memorial Day, Labor Day, 4th of July. And my dad and the three other gentlemen would sit around for 5 hours playing cards. No gambling, no nothing, no betting, just playing pinochle. They had a great time. And then when I was allowed to come into that circle, I thought that was like a rite of passage. They're letting me play pinochle with them. Wow. Loved it.
I'm a lover of words, so I love Scrabble.
Oh, that's a fun game. Isn't that? Yeah, that's a great game. I challenge that. It's Scrabble dictionaries and everything. It's amazing, isn't
It is. It's such fun. So,
it?
oh dear. So another subject that you talk about a lot is music. So
Yeah.
have you had a love of music for a long
Yeah.
time as well? And do
Yeah.
you have a large taste in music as well?
Yes, I do. Again, if you eliminate hip hop and rap, uh, I like everything else. Didn't think I liked disco. Okay. But now, compared to the hip hop and rap, disco's not so bad. So now I do like pop music or rock and roll music. I like grew up listening to jazz and classical music as a kid. For many, many years, I sang in the church choir, so I have a love of that type of music. And yeah, I love, again, you couldn't, if you pin me down, I couldn't say which is my favorite. Love country music, the old country music from the 1960s to the 1980s, when it was still a little bit country, not something what they're making now called country.
So, have you got any music that you listen to or that you love that you think that other people might not know about, or are very little known group or artist?
You know, that was one of my first dinner and a dots, and I recommend it to people, and I recommend anybody here, if you can get the music of Ry Cooder, Cooder, Ry Cooder, wonderful guitar player, wonderful guitar. I mean, just a great guitar player and unknown. People don't know this guy, and he does a lot of albums that are based on certain concepts, and he just did one on. Oh, I think it was the Chavez Ravine. It was called, which is the where the Los Angeles Dodgers play baseball, and how Chavez Ravine used to be actually was a Hispanic community in Los Angeles, which they tore down for government housing. And when the government housing didn't go in, they gave them to the O'Malley family for a baseball park. And he did a whole album on this development, and it was just out of this world. And you know, I just really like I like Ry Cooder a lot. He's a great listen. And one I want to mention to you, I know you guys, I listen to you. Okay, I've gone back through your catalog. Everybody comes on, they want to talk about the Beatles.
They do.
I need some love for the Dave Clark Five. I love the Dave Clark Five. Oh, were they good? Dave Clark pounding on those drums. They were just a great group.
That's true. They were a really good group. I mean, at the beginning, they were serious competition for the Beatles.
They were. Actually, they were on the Ed Sullivan Show, and over here in America, more than the Beatles were, and they were very popular over here. Have you found any podcasts that do anything on Dave Clark Five?
I have not, no, and I have actually looked as well.
Okay. I know you're a Beatles guy and have lots of Beatles. I love the guy who had the 400 Beatles books. Okay. That's great. I thought that was super, you know. And it actually inspired me to go out and get a book myself, another book on them the other day. So, yeah, spending more money on Amazon. But yeah, I love it. Love that. Love the 60s. Love the 60s music.
Go on then. Which Beatles book did you buy?
It was by Larry Kane. Okay, let me open up my phone if I can for a moment. I will find it for you. Okay, let me do that. I will talk here a minute while we're doing that, but I will look at that. Larry Kane's book. Larry Kane was a newspaper. It was a television broadcaster, and he's the only American reporter who was allowed to travel with the Beatles during their first trip to America.
Oh, yeah.
And he then subsequently got a real big friendship with these guys, and he was with them all over. And so, yeah, Larry Kane did a couple of books about his relationships with the Beatles and their tours. And let me just sit here and let me do this. And put this one in because he's written around 3 or 4. And yes, it's called Ticket to Ride. Inside the Beatles 64, 65 tours that changed the world. Yeah. That's the one I got. Mm-hmm.
I can't remember which podcast it is, but I've actually heard him being interviewed as well on a Beatles podcast.
Yeah, see, I knew Larry Kane as Channel 6 News in Philadelphia. I hadn't realized growing up that he had that relationship with the group. They never stressed it, you know.
Well, to them, it's just part of their job, isn't it? Really?
You're right. Yeah, it's fascinating to be part of that and be the only one allowed on the planes and behind the stage and everything else. That's great stuff, you know. So yeah. So what do you like? Are you a Beatles fan, Marv? Is that your Are they your favorite group from back then, or what's your favorite?
Actually, my favorite band is Queen.
Oh, well.
And then my second favorite band is the Beatles.
Yeah. So what do you think of the movie about them? What do you think it was? It 2 years ago, the movie with Freddie Mercury and the Queen?
I liked the film to a degree, but I have a problem with films where they where they use poetic license and sometimes get things uh, or change facts to suit the film, shall we say?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when you get songs that they'll say, "Oh, we did this song in 1980," and you think, "Well, you didn't because you did it in 1977."
Yes.
That sort of thing can be irritating to me because I'm a bit of a trivia nerd when it comes to music trivia.
There.
So
There you go. I can understand that. Yeah, and I can understand why that would bother people. If you want to do something, do it the right way. Last night I was rewatching a movie called Trumbo, Trumbo.
yeah,
It was on Netflix. It's about a writer named Dalton Trumbo who was blacklisted here in the States as part of the Hollywood 10 back in the 40s and 50s, couldn't get any work. And while much of it was correct, there were parts that were incorrect and portrayed people incorrectly, which bugged me. And also, just certain, again, if you like something and you're sort of a little nut on it, you don't like when they misrepresent facts.
absolutely. I mean, it's the same as when I've seen films that are based on books and they've slightly altered the story,
Well,
and sometimes
not
that.
even not even the same thing at times, isn't it? Ay, ay, ay.
So I saw a film with Tom Cruise where he was playing Jack Reacher,
Okay.
the character in that, and it was based on the book One Shot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I happen to be a fan of that book. That is my favourite of those books.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just felt that the so from the beginning, the character that Tom Cruise was playing, he actually believed from the beginning of the film that the character was innocent of this crime. But in the book, he didn't. He actually thought that
Mm.
the character was guilty,
Oh my.
and it was only as it got towards the end of the film, the book I mean, that there was a twist where he realised that actually that person that he thought had done it hadn't actually done it. So I thought the fact that they had done it the other way in the film where he knew from the beginning, I thought that spoiled what could have been a really good twist in a film.
Yeah. That changes it completely, doesn't it?
It
Wow.
does.
Yeah.
But
See,
I really need to go and watch that film again because people keep telling me that I should watch it with fresh eyes.
there you go. Good. I've not seen any. I'm not a major Tom Cruise fan. I mean, I saw some of his early stuff, and I don't know, for some reason, I just don't. I guess ever since he went up and down, jumping up and down on that sofa, I thought, what a nut, and telling everybody how much you love Katie Holmes. I don't know. I just sort of lost the love for Tom Cruise at that point.
Yeah, I think that was just exaggeration for the press.
You think so?
I do.
Just like yesterday's interview, huh? What do you think about that one? Wow. With
Yeah.
Oprah and the former prince.
Yes, that is a very big talking point
Yeah.
in British news today. Actually,
Oh, you knew she was going to come up. I'm not a fan of hers. I mean, I've watched her show. She was on Suits, and she was a minor character there, which they tried to make a little bit more of a character. But it's like her talking, and Harry just sits there. Doesn't have much to say, and you knew she was going to dump on everything. I mean, we all knew that. And Oprah, she's like the Barbara Walters now. She's taken over that crown. Oh, we'll talk to Oprah. Okay, all right. Oh, all for a buck.
absolutely, absolutely. So we'll touch on films as well then. So
Mm-hmm.
are you eclectic with films as you are with books?
Well, I love classics. Okay, and that's a hard thing to define. What's a classic? But I love the old black and whites. I've got a lot of DVDs of the silent films, the Fatty Arbuckles, the Buster Keatons, the D.W. Griffith works. I've got many of those. And I love going and watching that. Those old 20s and 30s musicals, getting into film noir. I love film noir. Oh, that's a genre I really like, and getting it up into nowadays. And yeah, Nathaniel has got me watching WandaVision and had me watching Mandalorian, and I like Mandalorian. Don't quite understand WandaVision, but I don't know if anybody really does unless you're a nerd about that. So we watch those things, and I like all types, but I really like, if it's black and white, I really like it. How's that?
Absolutely. I love a good old black and white film,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think my favourite film director is Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh, absolutely. So good. So good. I have all his movies. I have every one that's come out. I've got, I think, 2 different box sets. Plus, I got something that I never saw before about classic Hitchcock films. I mean, we go back to his first movie ever made. And boy, I'll tell you that I never saw it anywhere. I know sometimes the dubbing's not good, or it's difficult to understand, but I love watching his work. Just love it. What's your favorite, by the way? What's your favorite, Mark?
My favourite Alfred Hitchcock is. I'll have to think seriously about this.
Okay.
Possibly Vertigo.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good movie. Yeah.
But it's tricky because you could say that and then the next minute you'll say, "Oh, why didn't I say Rope
Yeah,
or
that's right.
North
That's
by Northwest?"
right. Mm-hmm.
You can just reel off so many good films.
Yep. And he had different segments in his life where he did certain things and he did certain ways, then he came to America and did certain things. And yeah, it was, he had a varied career. And yet he found certain people he liked to work with, actors or actresses. He kept a lot of the same background people, the sets, the music, the cinematographers. Took a course on this around 3-4 years ago. I got some sort of summer degree or something like that on the works of Hitchcock, and I loved it. It was so much fun studying him. It was a great time. Yeah.
And the amount of films that he made that had
Mhm.
music by Bernard Herrmann as well.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. My favorite would be North by Northwest. So much so that when I finally made it out to South Dakota, and I saw, the Mount Rushmore, I started crying because I mean that's something I had wanted to see for years and years, and it was all because those guys fighting on top of Abraham Lincoln and George Washington and everything else. I thought that was just the neatest scene, along with the crop dusting scene. Just great stuff. Great.
Absolutely. And they paid homage to the crop dusting scene in, I think it was the James Bond film From Russia with Love, where he was
Yes.
chased by the helicopter.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. But
Yeah. Love that. It's funny. What some of my shows, I go out of my way to try to find certain types of snapshots. I always try to get if I can, I try to get a music in, or I try to get a TV. Lately, my snapshots have had a lot from Los Angeles and a lot from Hollywood, just because they happen to be going on in this time period many years ago. But I always like to try to find something that gets me excited, and be able to talk about it. And I love talking about Los Angeles. I do. I lived there for 3 years and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And so to find things that you have a passion for and be able to then incorporate that in the snapshot is, for me, super. And I can imagine it's just like you, when you start talking with people and discussing something that you've got a great passion for, you can tell it and you feel it. And the whole interview just sort of rolls by itself.
it does. It really does. In fact, we'll go back to your shows then, about now that you've just gone into that. I think one of the really nice things about it is that I always say that that good radio and good podcasting is like really good company for somebody in a way, and it's comforting for people. I mean, especially in this age.
Mm.
So, and I think your voice works perfectly for that, and you are like company for people when they're listening to your show, and the advice that you give or suggestions that you give to people. I think that's really helpful and useful.
But I try to come across like that. I try to be interesting, and I try to be soothing, and I don't want to be too excitable. I always tell my wife, I said, if I can't sleep, I put on one of my own podcasts and it puts me to sleep. My voice just is so nice, and even, and that's thanks to Nathaniel evening out all my, equalizing the voice and everything. But, it's so nice, and yeah, I do have a great time talking to people. I miss people. I don't, I miss being able to teach or to do something with group. And so this is the only way I can do it. So we got snapshots or dinner and a dot.
But you've found a really good niche now, and I think you've got the podcasting bug now. I think you're stuck doing this even when everybody can go back out and see each other. I think you'll carry on doing this. I get
Marv,
that sort of impression.
You're correct, Marv. I will not go back to teaching. The other thing is, when I would teach, they would put us in rooms, and I could never get into the big room because the big room that they have for this facility would hold 125, 130 people. Well, I always wanted to do it a certain time of day, a certain day of the week. Well, you can't have the big room. Why not? Well, we have 25 people who are going to do Zumba. We move the chairs around and they can do Zumba. So what do I get? The room with 25 people. So I'm hitting 25 or 30 people if we cram them in there because that's all I can fit in the room. This way, I'm unlimited by the number of people I can reach. I'm so happy that Amalfi has gotten us all over the world. We got to get to Antarctica yet. Haven't cracked that one yet, but we got to get there. But I mean, I'm so happy that people, who a lot of Indians and Pakistanis listen to our show, and that's just so super. I love it, and yeah, I enjoy that being able to talk to more than 25 or 30 people at a time.
Yeah, me and Nathaniel were both on about that when we were talking, and were saying it's strange because you'll look at where your show's being listened to and you'll think, I can't believe that people in these countries are listening to me.
I know. Yeah, it fills you with both wonderment and pride. You are happy and you're proud that you can present something that people want to listen to, and that's a great thing when you can do that. That's great.
Absolutely. It must be like these bands who suddenly get told that they're number one in a different country and
That's
they've never
right.
been to that country before.
That's right. That's right. Like I did something the other day on my special episode of Listen to the Music about the honeycombs. Do you remember the honeycombs?
I've heard of the honeycombs.
Have I the right to hold you? Boom,
Oh
boom,
yes.
boom. Yeah, Honeyland Comb. That was named after her. The honeycombs were named after her. It's a fascinating story, and I won't go into it. You can listen to the podcast, folks. But they had one hit in the United States, "Have I the Right," and it was a hit in England, but they were huge in Sweden and Japan. And they still were. Decades later, they were still huge in Sweden and Japan. And you say, wow, over here, people forgot about the honeycombs, and yeah, that's one of those groups I liked. That's one of the stories, a neat story that I was able to find out about them. So yeah, enjoyed them about it. Also, you remember the Hollywood Teens? Well, that was
Hollywood
another
Teens.
group. The Hollywood Teens. They were from England also.
Okay.
They tried to get, people tried to come into America during the British invasion with American sounding names. And then there were groups in America that tried to sound British. So they thought that would make them popular, like the Buckinghams, like the Buckingham Palace. But no, it's named after Buckingham Fountain and Buckingham Circle in Chicago, or the Sir Douglas Quintet, which was a Tex-Mex group out of San Antonio, Texas. But a quintet, that sounds British. And so, everybody's got a gimmick. Yeah, everybody's got something.
That's so true. Have you got a favourite piece of trivia?
Oh my, a favorite piece of trivia. One that I always like to ask people: name the first male British artist to be number one in the Billboard charts here in America. Name the first female and name the first group. And that usually stumps them. Most people get the woman because that was Petula Clark with Downtown.
Okay.
Do you remember that? Would you know the first British artist, man, to become number one in America?
I don't know. First British male to get a number one single in America. I don't know. I don't know whether it's somebody like Cliff Richard would have translated over to American audiences.
No. It's a instrumental. It was Mr. Acker-Bilk, "Stranger on the Shore."
Of course.
That clarinet solo back in '63 came number one.
Wow.
Yeah. Great song. Who learned to play, by the way, the clarinet while in prison in Egypt. That's another great story.
Wow.
This guy fell asleep. He was over the Suez Canal when there was all the tensions there in the 50s, and he falls asleep on guard duty. And they put him in the brig, and in the brig he learns to play the clarinet. Interesting how this happens.
How did he have a clarinet with him to learn?
God knows how he got a clarinet into the brig, but that's where he learned it. Yeah. And then the first group to have a number one hit in America. Do you know that from Britain?
Was it Jerry and the Pacemakers?
No. Again,
I'm trying to avoid saying the Beatles because I don't think it is.
No, it wasn't the Beatles. No, as a matter of fact, it's another instrumental song. It was done by the Tornadoes. It was called Telstar.
Of course, Telstar.
That
Yep.
Great story behind that too. I love doing music trivia. That's my favorite trivia, is music trivia, because the stories behind it are out of this world.
So when you do dinner and a ... you talk about the food that you've eaten first.
Yes, we talk about food. That's right.
And then you'll pick two different things, like a book or a film, music, or a game that you've played.
Right. That's right. Yep. I just want to keep it short. I just want to have a couple things for people to pick up and do it and watch it. And I try to, sometimes I try to get, we're trying to do some like maybe theme nights, all Italian food, Italian songs, Italian books or something like that, or maybe French or maybe English or something like that. Yeah. One of my favorites was when we did, the movie Fisherman Friends. Oh, I like that movie.
Yes.
Oh, and then I could sing sea shanties. My Romanian relatives, my wife's side, I'm singing sea shanties in the background while she's talking to them. They think I'm absolutely nuts, you know. What do you do with a drunken sailor early in the morning? Okay.
Yeah, but the catchy. That's why people used to sing them, is because they're catchy.
They're catchy and they're good. And gosh, my wife was actually the first one to pick up that movie was filmed in Port Isaac, where Doc Martin is filmed, one of my favorite TV shows.
Oh yes, I remember you saying that in the episode.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Doc?
I have seen Doc Martin with
there he is.
Martin Clunes.
Yeah. Well, one more season to go, a final season. So they're filming, and I can't wait to see it. A great series. Love the British series. Love it.
Yeah, I thought that was fascinating that you keep mentioning British series like that and New Tricks that you watch.
Oh, watch New Tricks, and I'm at the point now where the group's breaking up, and it's just devastating. They just Jack left, and now Brian, Memory Lane is gone, and Amanda Redmond, her character is leaving, and it's like, the only one left is Jerry, and it's sad. But I have a lot of favorite and fun English shows. I but I watched Rumpole. Oh my God.
Okay.
Never fear, Rumpole is here. She who must be obeyed.
Yeah. Well, that New Tricks, the theme tune is actually sung by one of the actors,
Yeah. Yes, Jerry. Dennis Wakeman is his name, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, Dennis Waterman, yeah.
Waterman, yeah. Yeah, it is. It's great. I love that thing. That's a great theme. I think it's a good show. Really like that. I love the British shows.
It's something that he is a bit trivia. So it's something that he started with another series he used to do in the 80s called Minder, and he actually did the theme tune to that as well.
Okay. Didn't know that. That's good to know. Yeah. My trouble is getting my listeners to get the services. I get Acorn and I get BritBox, and not everybody over here gets those streaming services. So I have to be careful when I put things in. That's why I put New Tricks in, because it's over here also on Amazon Prime. And again, sometimes you have to educate your public, because people might get Amazon Prime for the free 2-day shipping. They don't realize you get their videos also was part of that. So we're trying to educate people on that their shows are there. And they do have a good amount of British shows on Amazon Prime.
That's how we've got Amazon Prime, is because we get it with the the shipping as well.
Yeah, you can't beat it. I mean, free 2-day shipping, the amount of stuff. We got 174 different deliveries last year. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. Who buys all this stuff? But I have a monthly subscription for toilet paper, a monthly subscription for paper towels. I started this 2-3 years ago, and everybody thinks I'm nuts. Last year, when people weren't getting paper towels or toilet paper, we're well equipped here. We were getting our deliveries.
That's true. I mean, they were a lifesaver in so many ways for people being able to get hold of things while everything's been closed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, do you listen to any other podcast?
Oh, too many. I can't stop them. Besides yours, I can't stop listening. I love listening to your podcast. I also listen to a lot of history podcasts. Let me just go back here. Of course, one of my favorites, obviously, is History Extra podcast. I love the BBC for that. I really, and I think they've stepped up their game this year with a lot of their programming. I think they've done some really, really good things. That's a fun one to listen to. I listen to, again, The Real Story, which is on, I think, a BBC podcast also, which is Rita LaShaw bringing you the big story. Every Friday you get that. Love Marvin, what's his name? Oh, In Our Time with Marvin Bragg. Listen to Marvin Bragg a lot. I listen to a lot of these the ancients. I listen to the Emperors of Rome, which comes out of New Zealand. Love a lot of these things. Yeah, I'd listen to more, but I can't. It's too much. I have work to do.
Yes, there's not enough hours in the day for everything you want to listen and to do.
No, and since I don't drive around, I'm not a captive audience. I'm just here in the house, and they'll say, "Well, then you are captive." Yeah, but I want to do this, and I got to do that, and I got to start setting things up. Like I said, I have a schedule every day of the week as to what I've got to do to get out 2 podcasts and do other stuff, and do all my reading, and I do my eclectic bookshelf blog, and I also write for mysteryandsuspense.com. I've been publishing my reviews there also. So it's just a lot of not enough hours.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So where can people find you and your show?
Well, the easiest thing is just go to amalfimedia.com. That's the easiest thing. amalfimedia.com. You'll see all our shows up there. You could type in under podcasts, you could type in the snapshots, and you will under Apple Podcasts. I know we're the number one, we're the number one choice that it comes up to, snapshots. A Dinner and a Dot is still trying to get traction there because we haven't been out that long. So I always tell people, go to amalfimedia.com. And you can get all of our shows. You can get the answer trivia questions, and you got to vote on your favorite show. We're in the midst of the Amalfi Awards. That's right. We're doing the Amalfi Awards this year. We're getting nominations for the best episode in each one of our podcasts or video casts, as my wife has with her cooking show. And then we will eventually have people vote on which one of the 5 or 6, come out there, which one's the best. And we go from there. Of course, I know I'm going to win.
Absolutely.
Well, God, the Toxic Lady. Have you listened to the Toxic Lady, Marv?
Yes, I have. That's fabulous. I've actually, I actually put a post up about that and suggested to people that they listen to that episode.
That is the most bizarre case I have heard about. And then to have the state of California, which prides itself on things, and the state of California come up and say, we solved it, mass hysteria. Yeah. It just is so ridiculous. It just is bizarre. And I felt so badly for Gloria Ramirez. And I felt so badly for all those people who got sick. I mean, the one lady who got avuncular necrosis in her knee. How do you get that through mass hysteria? I mean, I just that just when I read that story, I said this needs to be by itself. Yeah, she
Absolutely.
deserved that. Yeah. So yeah.
I thought it was really good that you actually did an episode that was just basically a deep dive into that subject.
Well, thank you. I usually try to keep one Saturday a month for the music, listen to the music, and getting ready to do that. We're coming out the third episode of that on March 20th, I think, and I try to keep that and not fill in anything more, but. That one just needed itself. And of course, we're still talking about doing more podcasts. Oh, my son Matthew and I want to sit and do a sports podcast. Another person wants to do a baseball podcast with me. I'm looking forward to doing something with my son because, I used to be a professional wrestling promoter also. And so I have a lot of wrestling loves and stories and things like that. And he actually, growing up, was my ring announcer. My son Matthew, and that was his essay to get into college. That you have to do an essay. He wrote about being a ring announcer for my professional wrestling organization, and so I'm looking forward to doing that and reminiscing about what I consider the good old days of professional wrestling.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning about a wrestler in one of the as one of your snapshots recently.
Yes, yeah, we did. We did a lot of things with Captain Lou Albano, and part of the Rock and Wrestling, and that whole thing with Cyndi Lauper and
Yes.
Hulk Hogan winning the title. And as a matter of fact, coming up this Wednesday, we're doing one on the death of Jim Crockett Jr. Jim Crockett Jr. was a promoter down here in the South who became almost like the head of the National Wrestling Alliance. And they had wonderful wrestlers, wonderful workers down here in the mid to late 80s, early 90s. And he died. So I'm going to be talking about that and the people he had. He's the guy who had Ric Flair. And of course, Ric Flair was a longtime champion down here and became the NWA world champion. So I have a little bit of background on some of these guys, and I love talking about that. So yeah, we'll get into all that stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. And before we leave, I think that it'd be good for people to know your blog, where to find your blog, and I also think that your Instagram page for that blog is fantastic as well. So if you want to let people know where to find those, that'd be helpful.
Well, if you want to find my blog, you go to Blaine's apostrophe S. I guess it's Blaine's Eclectic Bookshelf. I don't know if it's an apostrophe or not, but type in Blaine's Eclectic Bookshelf, and you will see a whole bunch of different type of books that we review. And it's a fun thing. I enjoy doing that, and I put the picture of the book cover and my reviews in, and have a good time with that. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Marv, for bringing that up.
That's fine. I think it's important to introduce people to these things, because people are always looking for films or books or music to listen to, or anything. I mean, it's just like I said, people are looking for these things, and you're offering suggestions, or with your reviews on your blog. I think it's useful because then people know what to expect when they buy these books.
It's fascinating. I put a review out. Oh, Marv, I guess it was around a couple weeks ago, and I've had more people write me that thanks to my review they're going to buy the book, and that really that made me feel good because I felt very passionate about the book and about my review of the book. And I don't always get on a high horse, but I felt for this one I had to, because it dealt with poaching and endangered species of animals, and what people are doing to kill off the wildlife, and the fact that the author is donating all his royalties to NGOs to protect the endangered animals. That just hit me, So I was very pleased that people like that review. So
Yeah, I also think it helps as well because you're talking about these books as a reader as opposed to a a professional critic
Well,
might be a bit too, well, should we say, well, I'll say critical. They
mhm.
can be a bit too wordy almost and a bit flowery, whereas you're just natural with the way that you write about these books, and like I said, you're explaining it as just an everyday reader of books.
Yeah. Marv, it's just like you and I. I never met you, and yet I feel comfortable talking around you. I tell you, you're comfortable chatting with me. We're just chatting like two friends have been together for 20 years. And that's the way I
Absolutely.
try to approach all my blogs. I'm talking to my friends or my book, my reviews or my episodes or whatever. I try to, it's just one friend to another.
Absolutely. Anyway, Blaine, thank you for talking to me.
No trouble. Glad to. If you ever would want to chat again, feel free to give a call and we'll hook up via the internet again. Okay.
Absolutely. And hold on a moment while I do the sign out.
Okay.
Okay. And thank you everybody for listening, and hope you listen again to another episode of Pods Like Us. He's connected now.
Do we see each other?
No, you won't see it. Hey, Marv, it's Nathaniel here. I'm helping my dad sit up really quick.
How you doing, Natty? You okay?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Not bad, thank you very much. Good to hear you again.
Okay.
He's talking
Well,
to
that-
Marv. Yeah.
Here are your headphones.
Okay.
Cable goes on the left.
Cable on the left.
Cable on the left.
I put this on,
Okay, and then you should be.
and then I
good to-
should be able to hear him.
You should be able to hear him.
You
Hello?
should be able to. Hello.
Hey, how you doing, Marv?
It's like listening to one of your shows.
Yeah. Well, I try to be natural.
Don't we all?
Yeah, that's all we can ask for.
That's true.
Big day here today. Big day.
It is for me as well.
Oh, good. I'm happy because Nathaniel and my wife Magda both got their first COVID vaccine shot and seem to do well, and that's good. So one more to go in 3 weeks.
Right. We've not had our letters yet to go and get ours,
No.
unfortunately.
They are moving along here in South Carolina, and the question is, are they efficient or are people just not signing up for them? I don't know. But the minute ours we were able to, boom, we're in there.
The thing is, you can't force people to take them. That's the thing.
No, you can't.
No.
Nope.
Which, well, that's what it is living in a democracy.
That's true. Yeah, and then they'll moan and groan when things aren't opened up or things aren't going right. Yep. Well, yeah. What can you? But you know what? I didn't hear. Everybody's got smallpox vaccinations. We all get that MMR, where you're with mumps, measles, rubella, that vaccine. I mean, we've been
That's
getting
true.
vaccines our whole lives. Get flu shots every year. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Same thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly. That's right.
Yeah, I know that, but it's one of those things. It's the newness. I think it's the fact that it happens so fast, Marv. Under a year. When you think about it, that's an amazing technological feat to be able to do this, and I think that gets people scared. There hasn't been enough testing, but what are you going to do? Is also the beauty of technology. You don't need to do it like in the old days.
No, that's true. I mean, you can even you could talk to anybody anywhere in the world without
Mhm.
a problem with no lag like we used to do with long distance calls back in the day or anything.
That's right. All right. I remember when my wife, when we were early in our marriage and she wanted to talk to somebody in her family and she had to, you had to somehow get a message that they were going to be at the post office, and then you would call the post office and that's where the phones were. And it would be like, my God, $80 for a 20-minute call. But geez.
Dear me. And
Yeah.
now all you need to do is pick up a mobile phone and put the number in, and you're ringing
Then
somebody.
you start ringing either Viber or WhatsApp or whatever. So,
That's true.
Mm.
Well, we'll start the show officially now, then, I suppose. So,
All right.
okay.
fine with me. Okay.
So, is there anything that we didn't touch on, Blaine, that you think we should include in the episode?
No, I don't think so. I think it was very good. It was exactly what you laid out. There it was, and you allowed me to chat, and I asked you, you asked me, and I thought it was real good. We didn't get too technical. With Nathaniel, I know you were getting more technical because that's just what he does, a lot more of the technical stuff. With me, it's
Absolutely.
just sitting and chatting, and like I said, just that's how I am. Just let's chat a little bit.
Yeah,
I appreciate it, Marv. I really do.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd realised that because I talked to Nathaniel about how he does the shows and how he puts them together, that we'd already gone into the technical of how the shows are edited and recorded, so we didn't really need to go into that. We just went into the nitty gritty of who you are and what your shows are about and what you do.
Yep, that's fine. I don't do anything too heavy. I always say I give credit to Nathaniel. He's the guy who makes it look good. I just do the research and do and talk for 30 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever the case may be, and then he makes us a star. So I'm real proud of the boy.
Yeah, I would be in the same position. I think we've had a great conversation there.
Yeah, we did. Like I said, very good. You ever want to chat again, let me know, and we'd be happy to chat. As a matter of fact, Nathaniel says something that maybe your wife wanted to talk to my wife sometime, and that'd be great.
Yes, we've talked about that because Louise loves cooking and baking, so it'd be almost like a perfect conversation, really. That.
Yeah, if you can understand my wife's accent, you're okay. She's she escaped from Romania back in '84 when she was 24 years old, and so that accent you don't lose. They say if you come somewhere, you lose your accent if you got there before the age of 11 or 12. Well, she was 24, so she still has an accent, and which she doesn't hear, and my kids don't hear. That's the most amazing thing. I can hear my wife's Romanian accent so plain as day, and they don't know what I'm talking about. What do you mean Mom has an accent? You don't hear this? They hear other Romanians' accent, but not Magda's. That's great. I love
That's
it.
funny. But you say that, but people John Lennon, when he went to America, he ended up almost Americanizing his Liverpudlian accent.
I always found that fascinating how the British actors and singers can sound so American. And then when you hear them in their normal mode of speech, whoa, that's not what I remember him talking like that. How did he do that? I'm always been amazed at that. Yeah, always amazed.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Blaine, thank you very much for that.
No trouble,
catch you
Mark.
again sometime soon.
All right, be good. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to listening to your shows.
There you go. All right, you take care of yourself.
You take care. Thank you, Blaine.
Bye-bye.
Bye.